Trick or treat, motherfucker! Welcome to Monster Monday. Today we are going to be talking about a movie that really isn't that much of a monster movie, but I already watched it, and my memory of it was that there was more monsters in it, especially since the front cover suggests one right there. But I mean, the guy lives through electricity. He can manipulate objects. He can come through his music. He lives in the records. He's talking to this kid. It's a monster-like character, okay? Even when he comes back at the last, his face is all burned. He's like Freddy almost, and he's rocking the joint and killing people and sending electric bolts out of his damn guitar. So I'm going monster enough. If you don't like it, you can shut it off. All right, anyways, I want to talk about my new intro for a really quick moment here. Stephen Arthur was so awesome in just surprising me with this theme song intro thing that he gave me. He just sent me this theme song for Monster Monday. He scored Slasher Sunday. I sent him the footage. He scored that. This time he surprised me and sent me a score, and I had to edit to that, which was really fun. I had never done anything like that before. So thank you, Steven. You're amazing as always. Let's get into this goddamn movie. Now, this is from the director of such classics as Air Bud and Dolphin Tale 1 and 2. Little duology there. Kicking ass, man. I guess people didn't like his take on horror, so he didn't do much, if any. He got stuck doing Air Buds. But my kids love that movie, so thanks. Now, I got to watch this on VHS because I have an old VHS player, an Emerson, and it sucks, so I don't really ever watch anything. I was at the thrift store with my kids recently, and there was a $7 Sony VHS with a high def freaking sound and everything, and I plugged it in and it kicks ass, and my kids are all excited. They like have found every kids movie VHS around. They think it's some novelty. They're like, oh my god, Dad, we can watch it. And they're like asking me how to put it in there, and they're just enamored by this thing. So it's been really cute to watch them get all excited about this new technology to them. They're like, wow, this tape's so big. And so they've never seen a VHS or a VCR before. It's really, really cute. Let's get into the film itself. Now, this is a bullied alternative kid. He's into metal music. Totally understand this. I was bullied in school. I was into punk rock music. I was into metal. So I can immediately relate to the kid. They are bullying him all over the place. They put a freaking weight in his backpack and push him in a pool. That is attempted murder right there. They also take his clothes off and throw him into a gymnasium with a bunch of girls, which I personally would have turned around and thanked them and then went to, try to get my groove on with the ladies. That did not make it seem like I had any talent with women right there at all. Oh my God. Let's just ignore everything I just said there. Wow. Okay. Get my groove on. The fuck? I don't talk like that. The hell is wrong with me? All right. But I would just, hi, how's it going? Look at my penis. There you go. Is that enough? So I thought it was very odd that like one of the biggest rock stars in the world at this time, he's like a Marilyn Manson or an Ozzy Osbourne, which Ozzy Osbourne is in this movie. He wants to play at a high school. I guess it's maybe his high school or whatever, but I don't know. It was just like, really? He's going to play at a high school? And then they revoke his ability to play there. They're like, no, you can't. And it's like, no one in this school even likes you but this one kid. Like almost no one else. This kid and his friend seem to be the only people into metal at all. Why would he even be playing there in the first place for them to, axe that? But whatever. And watching that scene where he finds out that his favorite lead singer, his idol, dies. I completely can relate to that because I was super into music when I was younger. I'm not as into it as I once was. I just am more into film and other things, but I still love music. I mean, I think everybody does. It's just at one point in my life for a few, maybe a 5 or 6 year period, I was super crazy into music. And all the deaths that I went through with lead singers and whatnot, I was a big grunge fan, so you can see how many heartbreaks I had there. I remember when Kurt died. I remember when Scott Weiland died. I remember when Chris Cornell died. Those both are pretty recent. But the one that I actually took the worst for some reason not for some reason, but just of all of those, the one that I took the worst was Lane Staley's death from Alice in Chains. I just took that really poorly. It was just, I guess, wrong place, wrong time, whatever. I was working at a gas station in Lake Arrowhead right there alone. I should have already been crying, but I picked that paper up, I looked at it, and just saw, and I saw it in a paper, like, there wasn't cell phones, there wasn't these things. Like, cell phones existed, but we didn't have smartphones. I didn't hear it over the radio. I didn't see it on TV. I saw it in a fucking newspaper, and it was like in the back of the newspaper. I don't even read newspapers, so I don't know how the hell I even came across that, but I saw it, and I cried. I full on cried, and I had to take a fucking break from work to you know, calm down, because I was just so upset about that. So I can relate to an extent, but this seems to be like his life. He has no friends. He has no anything else. He's writing the guy like a fan letter at the beginning, like biggest fan always, rag man, and then like a minute later he dies, and it just feels like in that moment it's really all he has left. So he kind of has this breakdown, and he goes into like his Columbine moment where he goes and he's like threatening the kids, revenge and all this stuff, and then he goes and we get this longer cameo. I mean, it's just a role. It's more than a cameo. I keep kicking this freaking camera, man. It's too damn close to me. I just want to get up and make love to the camera. That's what I want to do. That's why it's so close. My eye's so red. Oh, it's all the pot I've been smoking or whatever. Yeah, right. But I really like Gene Simmons in this. I thought he was actually pretty good. You know, I'm used to seeing celebrities in movies who aren't actors suck, especially when it comes to like professional athletes. Fucking forget it. Do not put a professional athlete in a movie ever again, please. You can get away with a singer or a rapper or something every once in a great while. They work out. But for the most part, putting celebrities who are not actors in films is a bad idea. But I thought he did good here. And I also thought Ozzy did pretty good here as the evangelicist. He's this completely opposite, you know, he's parodying it almost, like he's flipping the script. He's just being reverse cast here. And I thought that was really funny. But now he goes to Gene Simmons, who gives him his name's Nuke, and he gives him the last record that Sammi Curr ever. And I'm like, really? He's like, man, Sammi would have wanted you to have this. Did Sammi know him? Like, I get that he thinks he's Sammy's biggest fan, and he might be. I don't know. I don't know how popular Sammi Curr is supposed to be, but he's big enough to be on the news network in town. And I don't know, he has a ton of records, and they talk about him like he's this prolific artist of the time. So, but he wants him to have it. You don't have any idea how much that damn thing would be worth, and he just hands it off to a kid. Great guy. I mean, if he can do that. But he does. He gives it over to him, and he goes home and he listens to it backwards, which, of course, this is kind of just playing on all those silly urban legends and stuff that were set up at that time, or, you know, stuff that parents thought that there's words that were backwards when you play a Blue Oyster Cult and all these albums where you played them in reverse, and you could hear some messages and the devil would be telling you to kill people or whatever. So we actually do get that done in here, and I really liked this movie a lot. Like, I haven't seen it in forever, so going back and rewatching this, it was almost brand new to me, and I was expecting like fine. Like, I was expecting middle of the road, and I actually enjoyed it a good amount more than that. And there's a lot of reasons. And I think one of the big reasons is I like the lead kid here, and I also like Sammi Curr, the way he looked. There's a scene in particular I'm going to talk about a little later, but let's continue down this. Now, he listens to the record, he gets some info on how to, you know, get back at these bullies, and he listens to it, and they're chasing him. And one guy, I thought it was so fucking funny. The guy's running down the hall, and he pushes down a mop bucket, and the mop bucket spills, and the guy slides, and he fucking slides out the door and off some stairs and flies. It is so funny looking. It is so exaggerated. But I laughed out loud in that moment. I thought it was hilariously stupid. And then he lures them into this teacher's lounge, and he makes it look like he goes in there when he's actually dupes around. I don't know how the hell he does it, but he does. and they go in there with a fire freaking extinguisher, and for some reason the main bully kid, he decides to just keep spraying the teachers after he realizes he's spraying them for like a good full 5 to 7 seconds after. Why didn't he stop instantaneously? Once he burst through the door and sprayed like a little, he should have saw him and been like, oh my God, and dropped it or stopped it or whatever. I mean, I guess you could just be like, oh my God, he was so shocked at what was going on, he couldn't stop, but he would have stopped. It's a fun scene. I'm not nitpicking. I think a lot of people take this kind of stuff as negatives. It's not negatives. It was fun. I laughed. I had a good time. It's so stupid, but it's a fun stupid. There's a huge difference. So yeah, we have this. I mean, the record is just talking to him, and then he goes back, and he's just like, the record is full out talking to him. Like in the beginning, it just seemed like there was a hidden message in there, and he listened to it, and it coincidentally helped him. But then he went back, and he was hearing his own name being said, and then when he asked it questions, it was actually answering his questions. At that moment, he should have known this is probably not a good thing, but as we had already established, Sammy was his idol, and he was all he had left. He didn't like his mom. He didn't like anybody. So he only had that one friend, which he's not really all that friendly with in this movie. We don't really ever get to see them be buddies. He asks them for a favor, and they sit together at lunch, and that's about it. Their interactions are very, very minor, so I'm not really getting a good friend vibe from these two guys. And so then he goes to get revenge again, and these guys come into a shop class, and the shop class actually comes alive, and one is being held back by sparks while the other one is going to be freaking impaled by this machine. And the kid here, Eddie, he decides to pull the switch at the last second. Pull the switch! Pull the switch! Isn't that the line? Yeah. Or no, is it? I think it is. Freaking Ed Wood. Ah, so good. Pull the string. God dang it, that's it. All right, whatever. Close enough. Anybody a fan of Ed Wood? Clearly, I'm not that big of a fan because I can't even fucking remember the line. Pull the strings. So good. You gotta watch freaking Ed Wood. Tim Burton's best movie in my opinion. I love it, and trust me, I love Beetlejuice. I love tons of his movies, but Ed Wood is so damn good. Let's stay on track, Jason. Let's stay on track. So his mother, who is the chick from Motel Hell, the one who comes with the dude and they're into like the really weird sex shit. When I saw her for a second, I couldn't remember who it was, and then she made a facial expression. I was like, oh, that's that chick from Motel Hell, which I did review here on Slasher Sunday. So, but yeah, all of a sudden his mom starts to show interest in his records. Like, she looks through his records like this is the first time she's ever seeing this. Now, she could just be a completely oblivious mother. She's completely ignored him, whatnot, but she comes into his room and she's looking through his records, and she just seems to be blown away by the stuff she's looking at. It's like, do you not know your son at all? Like, you wash his clothes. She comes in, she has all of his clothes folded, and they're like black shirts with fucking like these metal bands on them, and his whole room is covered in metal bands and you know, wild shit. And she's coming and looking at the records and, oh my God, what is this? And the music comes on and she's like screaming like, no, shut it off. And it's like, you haven't heard this stuff before? Like, he's blasting this shit all the time. He's blasting this shit in his room numerous times throughout the movie before this scene. So I just thought that whole scene was kind of questionable, but in a movie like this, you're just going to have to look past it and take it for what it is. So he makes a copy or something. He records it onto this tape and he gives it to the bully, and he's like, you know, here's a peace offering. The bully takes it and puts it in his car, and his this girl who looks a lot like Lori Loughlin from Full House, but it wasn't. I looked it up. I was trying to find it, but it isn't her. Looks a fuckload like her. She throws it on some headphones and she's listening to it, and the spirit of Sammy Kerr or something, it's like a green mist that's coming out of it, because he's usually electric, but in this one he's like a and I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be, but this swamp fog comes down and fucks her. It like takes her clothes off, rips her blouse open, rips her fucking top off, and it looks like it's going down and massaging her vagina, and she's like orgasming, and then she opens her eyes, and hey, we get one monster in here, so there you go. There's a monster sitting in front of her, the only time we get to see it in the movie, which is so random, because if he has the ability to bring something like that into fruition, which maybe not, maybe he's just manipulating her mind so that she sees this thing, but he does. He brings this freaking beast in front of her, and her ears literally melt. And we find out that she's only in the hospital later, because that's what the kid says. Like, she ended up in the hospital. She looked fucking dead to me. Melted ears. I thought that thing fucked her to death. It's a hell of a way to go. I mean, if you're gonna go, that's not a bad way. And I really liked that, he goes, after he hears that, he's like, I'm done. I'm over it. It was a smart decision by him, and for the rest of the movie, he's trying to shut it down. And I love that Sammy has like, the record is basically like his Horcrux, like from Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows, where he has this thing that he's trapped inside, and when it's played, he is able to be born through the stereo, which is kind of where he originated from. Like, that's his birthplace as Sammy Kerr. Like, that's his persona as a rocker, and he was born through the the radio, the FM radio, which is I think verbatim the name of a Against Me song, Born on the FM radio or whatever, Airwaves. That's what it is, I think. Anyways, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about tonight. That's a great album. I love that fucking band. Let's continue. But I just like that idea. I like that Sammy's like, he has that like Freddy Krueger in the wall moment where he's pushing through the speakers instead of the wall. And I just like the idea of him being born through the speakers like that. And then he's more of electricity through that point, but he does originally start coming out of the speakers. I just thought that was a really cool visual and started making my mind work a little overtime as usual. And then he comes through, and Large Marge is on the TV. Yes, that woman in here is Large Marge from, talking about Tim Burton movies, another fantastic Tim Burton film. Hopefully Dumbo's good, because he's been on a real rocky stint here since Big Fish, which was fantastic. He's been iffy. Sweeney Todd was pretty good, but yeah, we need a good one. So Dumbo looks adorable. Hopefully that lands, but him and his Disney movies are not amazing. So for me personally, if you like him, that's fantastic. All right, we're not here to talk about Tim Burton. I always say that, but we're not. But anyways, he pulls a Large Marge. I thought this was hilarious. I thought this was fucking hilarious. In fact, it's right here on the back cover, right there. And I was wondering what the hell that was when I pulled this VHS out. I was like, what is that? Is that an Oompa Loompa? The fuck am I looking at? This little thing. So he's talking to her, and Large Marge is on the TV, and she's this, like, this chick, this busybody bitch who's on TV cutting down rock music, which you saw tons of at that time. And I don't know how much you see it now. It's probably all over the internet. Fuck them anyways. Who cares? But he grabs her through the TV and he pulls her out, which kills her, just like immediately, like chars her body. But she's the same size as she was in the television. She doesn't like come out as a full grown human like he pulls her out of the TV as herself. He pulls the size, like the same size out. I thought that was hilarious. I just think, I don't know, I've never seen anything like that before. Usually when somebody pulls somebody out of something, they become actual size. But like, what if he would have waited for a scene where they were like all the way back, like in the back of the audience, and they were looking at the whole stage and she was only this big? Could he have reached in and grabbed her like freaking little kid in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? This little, like a little fucking G.I. Joe or something, threw her against the wall. Oh, that's great. I just love that she remains the exact same size. That's fucking great. Because we know it's Large Marge, man. She's a big chick. So it ain't like she's Zelda or something, where she's this little teeny chick and that's actually her size. No. I loved that. I loved that. And so, another really cool thing. It's like quick, you miss, blink and you miss it. Not really. He's on the screen for maybe 15 seconds. But Eddie gets in his car and he's going to stop Sammy from the school, and Sammy's like takes possession of his car and drives him down the street, and he's like trying to drive, but he can't. And there's this kid, and he's on a bicycle, and he has a ghost costume on, and he has a flashlight up underneath the ghost costume, and I just thought it was such a cool looking costume for some reason. I was just like, oh, that looks fucking awesome. The quality of this VHS isn't awesome, but for some reason it really stood out to me. I would love for them to clean this up in a proper Blu-ray release. I would definitely buy that for sure. I want to see that ghost costume in full HD so I can be like, that's not as cool as I thought it was. The VHS actually made it look better. Now, the scene that I adored and I thought was the cool scene, this was what I was talking about earlier, I was going to bring it up, but so Sammy, the band that's going to play at the high school instead of them, he goes down because their equipment's fucking up, and the kids are out there booing them because they're entitled little pieces of shit who can't wait 5 fucking seconds for anything. He goes down to check the speaker, and Sammy's hand comes through, which for some reason doesn't seem to scare these children. But they do, whatever, and maybe they just think it's part of the act. I don't know how the hell they think that's possible, but whatever. So he grabs him, and he blows him up, which throws him in the sky or whatever, and kills him, which his band doesn't seem to care about that either. And the guitar goes flying through the air, and then it comes down, and Sammy catches it, and you just see his hand catch the fucking guitar, and then he brings it down, and he's just got this insane look on his face. And Sammy looks so old. Like, in the movie, I want to say his character died at like 38. I want to say that's accurate. And I looked it up, and this guy is only 28 years old. 28 years old in this movie, and maybe 27 when this was being filmed. He looks much older than that. Like, he does not. He has a hard look to him. Yes, there's some makeups and whatnot, but I don't know. He looks intense as fuck when he comes out. But he has that, like, he catches it up in the air, and then he, like, brings it down, and he's looking at the kids, and then he puts his arms up, and then he brings them down. He's just like fucking boom, 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 getting the kids to clap. And then he just brings it in, boom, and it's awesome. I fucking loved that scene. I thought it was fan-fucking-tastic. I don't know what it was about it. It was rocking, and I dug the shit out of it. The way Sammy looked, the way he caught the guitar, the way he was getting the audience to go with him, the way the fucking guitar comes into it, and then he just rocks the joint, and he's just shooting fucking electric out of the front of his guitar, and he's blowing bitches away, and everyone's running like it's Carrie. So cool. Loved that scene. Hell yeah. That was really making it for me. And the song they're playing is badass. So, and on a down note, I did look up this, and the guy who played Sammy in this died only like 6 years later or 8 years later, something real shortly after this movie, of AIDS and cancer. Wow. That's fucked up. Like, it was like cancer related AIDS or something. It was crazy. It was just looking, I was like, oh my God. Oh, Lord, this guy got it bad. But yeah, I mean, killer through electricity, man. Nothing original here. You got Shocker and Pulse and Ghost in the Machine and the horror show. I mean, this is an original concept, but I really like the spin on it with the rock and roll, the metal, all that stuff. We then get the final showdown between Eddie, his little girlfriend that he finally makes the move on, and Sammy, and they're going back at each other, and Nuke is supposed to play his record at midnight, and I guess he falls asleep or dies. They come back, and they think this is a security guard that's dead or whatever. I don't know. Maybe Nuke is dead as well. Maybe so he can't stop it. I don't know. But he isn't there, and the thing's automatically set to go at midnight, so he should be able to go all over the city. Like, why he's even bothering fucking with these kids? Maybe because he's trying to stop them from destroying his record. I mean, but he literally has the ability to go anywhere to anybody who's actually listening to this station at that time, but he just continues to keep hanging around these two kids. And he does, and we find out that he is hurt by water because of electricity, and you know, water and electricity do not mix like that. in a really stupid scene is like they do something and he falls into the toilet and his arm's caught in the toilet and it's like the water's hurting him, and then he pulls his arm out of the toilet, almost completely out of the toilet. His hand is actually out of the toilet, and the girl goes and flushes the water, and it actually pulls his hand back in and starts zapping him again. Okay, what the fuck? Flushing a toilet makes the water go lower, not higher. That's some bullshit. Okay, I want to talk to the fucking writers right now. I'm guessing that he still had like electricity that was caught down in there and he was pulling it out, but then the swirl, like, I don't know, like caught it up like a freaking thing of spaghetti on a fork and just pulled him back down, and guessing that's the mentality, but it makes the water go down. Speaking of going down, no, we're not going there. And then he goes and he lures freaking Sammy into his car as he's driving it off of this bridge that he almost died on earlier, and he drives it off of this bridge that's like, I don't know, freaking 500 feet high. Yeah, he wouldn't survive that, like, no matter what. He puts a lap belt on though. Like, at least they said safety first. They show him actually put a lap belt on. This is before they had across the shoulder ones, and it was just a lap belt. So yeah, he would have been fine. I mean, no problems. But he does. Sammy, of course, doesn't live because he's an electric ghost monster. But isn't he still residing? She cuts it up and everything. So yeah, and that's how they beat him. And then he comes out of the water, and you think like, oh, it's gonna hint towards a sequel. It's gonna do this, and Nope, it was over. It was a happy ending. He goes and he throws on the radio and he's rocking that fucking joint. He's forgot about Sammy, and so is the town. He saved everybody, and he'll never get any reward for it. So yeah, that's it, guys. I had a lot of fun revisiting that one. I definitely didn't think my review was going to go 30 freaking minutes, but it did. It is what it is.